and I am here with another review. This time it is, as promised, the MAFEX Batman from The Dark Knight Rises by Metacom. So this figure is a mixed bag for me. Something happened that never happens to me when I'm reviewing stuff. In between me taking the pictures and me getting ready to actually shoot the video, I found a fix for the biggest problem that I have with this figure. But I'm just going to talk about the figure for a little bit. As you can see, the sculpt and the articulation are pretty dope. If not for the one glaring flaw of this figure, he would be the best Batman, movie-style Batman figure we've ever received. I mean, in some ways he still is, but it's hard to make a whole, recommendation, I'm sorry, for a figure that has some of the glaring issues that this figure has. So, I will get to those, but I mean, I'm kind of happy that I got him. I got him for a really, really good deal. It's the only reason why I even picked him up in the first place. So I don't think it's a complete loss. And the fix that I found actually kind of redeems the figure and makes him a little bit more worth having in your collection, regardless of the issues. So, sit down, relax, and let me explain to you what this guy's all about. Sculpt and paint are amazing on this guy. I mean, it's kind of easy because he's predominantly cast in black. There's, the flesh-colored paints on his lips and his face. Then there's the eyes, the white of the eyes, and like the black dot of the eyes. I don't think he has like brown or blue eyes. There may be a little dab of it there, but it's not much paint. And then, there's the gold and, the accents of the belt, and that's it. He's got this cool kind of texture kind of tampoed onto the suit in different places to give it texture, but it's not like the Mattel one where all the textures were actually sculpted on there. So, considering this is a high-end collectible, he should have all that shit sculpted there. I mean, there are places where they sculpted it, but overall, they chose not to sculpt all the textures and to kind of give you the impression of texture via tampo. So I don't know, for those of you saying this thing is just automatically the greatest ever, remember that Mattel did some stuff, the Horsemen did some stuff better with their cheaper, more accessible figure. So, there's that. So articulation, this guy shines with his articulation. Um, it's nice to be able to put him in poses and do the whole SH Figure Arts type thing with him all over again. There are glaring, I shouldn't say glaring, well, I guess it is glaring. His ball sockets, he's mostly made up of ball socket joints. There are a couple hinge joints like on his feet and on his hands. In the wrist, the peg is attached to a hinge joint that swivels and it moves up and down or in and out depending on how you orient it. His shoulders are ball sockets. Neck, double ball socket, because it's the one at the base of the neck, one at the top of the neck, and then the head connects to that. So you got a lot of mobility there. Hips are the same way. Hinges are in the knees. You got double jointed knees. You've got double jointed elbows. You've got the bicep swivel, and you have also a thigh swivel up in the hips. And then there's that fake SH Figure Arts hip joint that really doesn't do much in this case. It looks good, and it's like, oh, cool, it's an SH Figure Arts joint, but it doesn't really do anything, which is strange to me because it's like, it's real straightforward what that's for. But you can get him in really cool poses and stuff. It's just that you have to deal with the fact that these joints don't lock. The ball socket joints, they're ball sockets. They sit there. They look like ball sockets. You put them in you put the ball joint in the socket and it works. It just doesn't lock. As soon as you apply too much force in one direction or another, the limbs pop out. This goes for his torso and his arms especially. I found a fix, like I said, where you use a hot glue gun and you fill up the recess, the socket, and put Vaseline or some kind of lube over the ball joint, put it into the socket with the hot glue, and move it around so you create a new shape in there but the glue will form around the actual ball joint, and it will help keep it in place. That way it won't fall off so much. So I've been working on that as we speak, and so far it seems like it's a pretty decent fix. I'm just hoping that it is the fix that we're looking for forever, like, so that I don't have to go back and do anything with it. So besides that, you have a really good figure. I mean, I was able to get some really good poses out of him. You know, everything works pretty well. He looks nice from most angles. The joints that do work well, and I don't have to do anything with them once I get him posed. You know what I mean? And you know, it looks the point. It looks the part. One of the things I'll give him is that, you know, the longer, more sleek sculpt works well with these the joints that they've given him, because they've given him more joints in places that the Hasbro figure, or the Mattel figure doesn't have. I dig it though. I really dig it. I really like the fact that I don't know. I just like the you know, when they give American figures or American characters in Japanese versions of American figures. Jesus, I don't know why I can't talk. I love when they give them the articulation that we're accustomed to with Japanese figures. So, you know, that works. But I have to get into what is missing from this figure, because, I mean, I just have to. So, here we go. MAFEX is the line. Medicom is the company. They make the real action hero figures that are like 12-inch super expensive dolls. They were doing that before Hot Toys showed up, so they've been and for a long time before Hot Toys showed up, so they should be a lot better at making action figures, which is why I'm going to be so hard on this figure. So I've watched a ton of reviews from other people, and I, you know, heard things about the figure, and I kind of was like, forget it. I already have, you know, this guy, who in my opinion is superior for the simple fact that he doesn't fall apart. But as far as looking exactly like the film, the MAFEX figure is a lot more like the film. So I'm going to get that out the way from the beginning. This figure, it's the one Japanese made figure that, excuse me, that I have in my arsenal, I was about to say, in my collection, that I'm not really happy with. You know, it's not, it does so many things right, and then it fucks up where you need it the most, and that's the build quality. Overall, the materials used for this figure are fucking amazing. I mean, like, kind of like with the Keaton Bats figure, his chest is made of this like soft material, and it's all throughout the figure. It's like this soft rubberized plastic, kind of like the way what's his name feels. What's the guy's name again? Black Manta, the DCUC Black Manta. There was a box set version that came with Aquaman, and he has this rubbery wetsuit kind of feel to him, and it's awesome. The shoulder pauldrons, they're like flexible. Do you see this? It's flexible material, so that when you move his arms around and stuff, and it rubs against the shoulders and everything, or the chest and everything else, it's not gonna fall off. Whereas the DC, the Mattel version, he is very, these pieces, they're a little flexible, but they're really real difficult, you know, real hard, you know. So they if you bump up against the shoulder or the upper shoulder, which they do, they'll pop off, which sucks. It's like, what the fuck? How did you screw that up? But overall, I'm gonna explain why I cannot recommend this figure. I know they're doing a 2.0, and I'm gonna put pictures of that in this video. And, you know, if you're interested, I'll link you to it. I might even sell this figure, because for me, this isn't my type of figure. The only reason why I picked him up is I got a really insane deal on him. You know, in my comic book shop, I'm a regular, so he hooked me up because he had one left, and he was trying to get rid of it. Basic things. to start off, he's got very cool, almost SH figure arts articulation. The shoulders are on a ball joint, but the problem is that that ball joint is super, you know, fragile. Essentially, what the problem is that they did not make the recess in which you put the ball socket, or the socket that you put the ball joint into, is not deep enough. So anything you do that's just over a little bit more pressure than is needed to move a joint, like if you overextend something, it's bloop, it just comes right out. That's bullshit. I noticed that a lot of Japanese figures, like a lot of my Figmas, you can pull them apart, but it takes some effort to do so. It's not like it's just easy for you to just walk up and just rip them apart. I mean, it's cool when you're playing with them and someone gets their arm chopped off or something, and you're just like, ah, my arm, and you just pull the arm off and just, oh my god, ah, oh. You know, that's fun. But like with Batman, especially this particular Batman, I mean, are you fucking kidding me? Sorry about that. So anyway, as you pose him, you'll see like he's got really cool, very Japanese, you know, joints, ball socket shoulders, swivel at the biceps, double jointed elbows, which is really nice, you know, because Batman figures typically don't. See what I'm saying? What the fuck? I didn't even do anything that time. I'm just showing you the basic movement. So anyway, that's what happens. The just like with the SH Figure Arts Injustice Batman, the pauldrons, actually no, I'm wrong. They slightly tilt or twist, but they don't really move. And of course, you've got a twist at the wrist and an up and down. And if you twist it, it can be in and out. If you know, depending on how his arm or hand is oriented. So, you know, that's pretty cool. But the fact that these joints just don't want to stay in there. I mean, I don't know what I have to do. I might drill, or I might find something to cap it off so that the hand can't come out of the, you know, it can't come out of the socket. He's got really good torso rotation because he's got a diaphragm joint up top. Actually, let me move his hand out the way. Jesus. So, here we go. So, the torso. I need more light right there. Torso joint. It can move to the side really well. Both sides with no problem. It moves back really far, and there's a lot of sculpting going on in there, just like in the movie. You can move forward pretty far. And then the base of the torso, as you can see, that's where the twist is, because the pelvis is a separate thing. You can actually take that apart and you can see ball, socket, you know. And I don't have so many problems with everything going below the waist. It's just above the waist. His head actually stays on a good, you know, it stays on really well. You've got the neck joint, so you've got a ball, socket, ball, and then the socket in the head. So the neck affords some, you know, up and down, and then you get further up and further down with the actual, you know, head joint itself. The legs are straight up ripped off of SH Figure Arts. You have the ball socket T-joint going across, or dumbbell, barbell, whatever. And if you want to make him pull his legs up farther, you extend it down. You see what I'm saying? You just pull it down. It makes a big gap, but you can easily fill that gap, just like this. So, like I showed you with the Injustice Batman, as long as you pull off the sickle foot with the kick, it makes his kicks look way nicer, you know. Sorry for the dead air, but see what I'm saying? Pretty professional looking kick, like someone who has done this before. Pow. So, you know, it's cool for crouching poses and, you know, shit like that. Let's show you a crouching pose so you can see that it still works. I have issues with his feet because he's got a toe joint, but it's like, why does he need a toe joint? What does the toe joint actually afford him as far as
movement goes. He doesn't look that good when you, I don't know, it doesn't let his feet sit perfect, you know, flat, and that bothers me. I like for my figures to stand a little bit more flat, you know what I'm saying? Granted, he doesn't have any, you know, as much of the posability that this one has, but he doesn't fall apart either, and he has ball sockets in many of the same places that he has ball sockets. For the life of me, I can't get this to stay straight. I've softened it, I've, you know, with heat and froze it back and whatever, it just isn't working. So anyway, yeah, you get the idea. Detailing wise, it's really awesome. I love the material that his cape is made out of. I'm going to try to go to my local Joann's or Michael's or something, or Hobby Lobby, and see if I can find some of this material and make some capes, because it is freaking beautiful, and it's like almost weightless. Like it flows perfectly. And like, you know how I was talking about how when you in the SH Figuarts Batman review, I talk about how with the old Superpowers figures, a lot of times it was cool that the figures had cloth capes, because we were able to, I mean, we were little kids when those figures came out, so we were able to make them do something cool, and then, you know, blow, or, and have the cape look all heroic and shit, you know, or have the character make the, you know, look heroic by way of their cape. You know, I of course make ginormous capes, so it's a little harder. You have to get the fan out, because I mean, look at the cape on this guy versus the cape on that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a Batman cape right here, you know. It's pretty damn big, pretty, you know, wide. It's like one of the bunch of capes that Bale actually used in the film. You know, there was the flying cape that looked like wings, that was ginormous. Then there was the fighting cape that was like this. And then there was the long standing cape for when he was just standing there and they wanted the cape to look, you know, like that and drape over his shoulders and whatnot. But, so back to the figure. The main points that I'm trying to make is that the figure itself just feels like the worst engineering that I've ever seen on a Japanese figure. You know, it's like they didn't even try. They just figured, oh, it's a Batman figure, we can get away without engineering it very much. And it's like, no, you have to engineer your figures. You have to test it out and make sure all the shit that you make works. You can't have a figure that looks this good and then, I mean, I guess you can, because these things go for like 80 bucks, 50 to 80 bucks on eBay. You know, I didn't pay all of that much, you know, I didn't pay as much, I'll say that much right there. I'm not stupid, you know. Not to say that people are stupid, but I feel like because it's Batman and there's so many Batman fans these days, they get nuts just because it's Batman. They go nuts over the fact that it's another Batman figure, and they spend money that you may not have had, or money that you could have spent better elsewhere, and you're getting a mediocre figure, you know. A lot of people said that this figure was like really awesome and blah blah blah, and it's not. I mean, if this much effort pulls the arm off, you know, and this much effort pulls the torso off, that's not an awesome figure. This figure is awesome for like something that you pose and you leave him in that pose and you never touch him again. That's what kind of awesome this is, because besides that, it's not really that awesome. Still don't believe me. I'm going to attempt to put some of his weapons in his hands and you'll see what I'm talking about. This isn't one of those things that you overlook just because you like the character, because you have options. I mean, how many times did Mattel release the Dark Knight, this costume? I mean, they say Dark Knight Rises, but he's had this since the Dark Knight. I mean, I have 3 or 4 of these because he came in 2 packs. I bought him separate once or twice, something like that, just so that I would have one to screw around with for capes and stuff. I've got him in my Movie Masters display. I've got him in the Batcave because it's a suit, and I've got the one that we're looking at right now, and that's not even to mention the Batman Begins costume. So, excuse me, if you're looking for a figure to actually play with that looks good, that's pretty posable, you know, for once, I'm gonna have to say go with the Mattel version, because it's superior as far as build quality goes. It doesn't fall apart. Yeah, he's a little short, but you can see that there's even more sculpting on the Mattel version I mean, when you look at the mesh in between the legs and the arms and whatnot on that version, and then when you look at the MAFEX version, the overly expensive MAFEX version, they've printed a or tampoed a texture onto his chest, and I'll take some pictures so you can see what I'm talking about. But I feel like the Mattel one has the super heroic stance better than the MAFEX. The MAFEX has the more realistic proportions, but I mean, it falls apart too easily, and that's the no-no. That's the part that I can't, that's why I can't recommend this to people, you know. And people might say I'm being elitist or something like that, but it's the truth. The figure just doesn't hold up the way that it should. I mean, if it's falling apart when I'm doing basic shit right now, just imagine what it would do in a couple years when you've I'm switching his hands right now, just so you guys know. Just imagine what would happen a couple years from now when you pick this guy up and you want to play with him. He's gonna fall apart on you and fucking die, and you're gonna be sad that you wasted the money or that your figure broke, you know. I was tempted to glue the freaking ball socket joints in there, but then I realized that there's nothing else to like rotate in there for you to get his you know, his arms to move. So it'd be bad unless I found a pose that I liked. So anyway, here is the EMP rifle, and I'm going to put that in his hand, and you're probably going to see his hands come apart, or his arms come out of the sockets while I put this in his hands. I mean, I've done it a couple times, so I might be able to do it without popping anything out. I think I just did it. Yeah, it's not impossible, you know, but it's happened to me so many times I've only had this figure for about a couple days, and it's happened so many times. It just was frustrating. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me that this is actually happening right now? But here he is with his EMP rifle, and he looks all right. I mean, it looks like the movie, which is pretty cool, you know, which is the main reason. One of the main draws for this figure was that the parts look so much like, you know, they're movie accurate. So if you want to put that weapon with this guy, he can hold it. You'll have to do some cutting with his fingers, because you can see all his fingers are in a fist. But yeah, he can hold the gun. He can hold all the guns, which is strange to me that still that, you know, there's a version of Batman that uses lots of guns. But you know, whatever. But yeah, he looks good. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a very good looking, freaking handsome figure. It's dope, you know, the light catches him the right way, and then you get the darkness behind his cape and, you know, in the eyes and everything. And it's pretty cool that they did that, you know. It feels legit, you know, it feels substantial, and I like that. But just the fact that, you know, as I will show you right now, when I go to remove the gun from his hands, all is what? His arms are gonna fall out. Let's take it out. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Wow. I managed to pull it off without dropping the arms out. But I guarantee you, one of the arms is gonna come off. See? All I'm doing is trying to turn his wrist, and the freaking arm came off. So, I don't know. I can't, you know, some people said the legs. I've seen reviews where their legs were coming out. You see this right here where the toes point out? I don't like that with toe joints. It bothers me. So I kind of prefer when they don't have it, because, you know, I never really use it for anything. And my posing is pretty damn, you know, on point. I know it is because I can draw the stuff that I'm, you know, posing them in. The poses I'm putting them in. And they don't look, you know, shitty. You know, this looks like a Batman pose right here. You know, especially Christian Bale Batman. He's always bowing his head, looking all depressed and shit. I mean, that was one of the posters right there. So, you know, but the thing is, not too many of the poses, I mean, there are a few, but not too many of the poses are poses that you can't get with the Mattel figure. The Mattel figure, for once, you know, and they typically they do some good movie masters figures, but you know, Mattel figure, I'm sorry, he's leaning back too far. There you go. There you go. So I don't know, honestly, you can hit me up and have me do a cape on them, and that might help make things look a little bit better, but I don't think that it's worth it to spend the money on the MAFEX Batman. I mean, maybe the 2.0 will fix all the issues that we've had with the with this figure, because I've seen nothing but issues, and people still turn around and give it like, you know, a 10 out of 10 or, you know, a 9 out of 10 or some shit like that, or say it's like one of the best figures they've ever played with or some shit. And I'm like, you know, let's be real. If any other figure fell apart on you like this, you would not be giving it such a high score. You would say it's a piece of shit, don't buy it. This Batman is like okay at the very, you know, at the most I would say he's an okay figure. He looks good, don't get me wrong, but it's not that amazing of a figure. I like the articulation because Batman figures typically don't get a lot of articulation, you know, but I would rather have a figure with good articulation that can stand, you know, together, stay together and not fall apart, than have a Batman figure that falls apart no matter what I do. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just stupid. What's the point? I paid, you know, your crazy exorbitant price for this figure. At least stand, you know, stay together. So, you know, I say this is a pass. There are, you know, cheaper, better made figures out there. If the MAFEX Batman 2.0 is better and doesn't fall apart, I know he comes with extra heads and whatnot, and I think like a Bruce Wayne head, a evil, like mad Batman head, like grimacing, and then a kind of a smirking Batman. Now, if that one has better build quality, then it's worth it. But I don't know what else to tell you. Like, outside of that, this one is just a complete pass.
So overall, you've heard my pros and my cons. It's a very polished, I don't want to say a polished turd, but it's a polished effort with some, a lot of room for improvement in some fundamental areas. And a lot of people have been saying, oh, you know, at least you can pop the arms back in. That's not good enough. You paid 40 bucks for it. And I know I'm repeating myself, but I have to drive this point home. When you buy a toy, you're paying the company to create a plaything for you, the consumer. It's their job to give you a complete finished product, unless the point of the figure is for you to finish the job, like a sprue kit or something like that, where you put the character together. This was supposed to be a high-end, you know, SH Figuarts quality figure. You know, this is Medicom. You know, they make expensive figures out of kind of brittle, you know, materials from, you know, my understanding. So there's really little excuse for the figure to be so fragile in the areas that he is so fragile in. And there's no reason for you to settle for this when you have options of better figures, may not have as much articulation, but, you know, better build quality overall.
A lot of people have been wowed simply because it's a Batman figure. And, you know, I'm a Batman fan too, don't get me wrong, but, you know, there are a couple, there are times where that's just not enough, being a fan. You know what I'm saying? Like, in this case, not enough. I mean, this thing has a hefty price tag on it. If you get a deal, maybe. He does come with, I showed you some of the accessories. He comes with the fist hands will be on him, usually. These are the two fists. He comes with, you know, an extra open hand or a pair of open hands. I have one of them on his hand, and then he has his holding things hand for the guns. He has his, you know, EMP rifle and the grapnel gun, the gas-powered grapnel gun. And then he has this beautiful freaking stand. I love the stand. it's actually been really helpful when I was playing around with this guy. Some of the poses in the pictures that I took in the very beginning, I owe to that stand. So it's a nice stand. It's kind of lightweight, but overall, it's just not that great of a figure. I mean, I had to do the video this way so that you guys could see what I'm talking about. I mean, there's no reason why this much energy pulls off his arm. You know what I mean? I have Figmas that's like the point. You know, a Figma, you put too much pressure on it and it comes apart. I have Transformers that are the same way. You put too much pressure on it, like more than what's supposed to be put on there or applied to get the desired movement or whatever, and it will fall, the piece will come off, and then you put it back in and you move it the right way. This right here, I'm not doing anything most times. I mean, you know, most times I'm just doing simple stuff and it doesn't want to do what I want it to do. Now, some of you might say I'm being extremely hard on the figure, but you have to understand, this is an expensive figure, you know? And like I said, I have so many Japanese figures. MAFEX, they've been making real action heroes for over 10 years. There's no reason why when they scale down, the figure should be like this. And then they want to charge you like $300 and $400, $500 for the set that has him, Catwoman, the Tumbler, and the Bat Pod, I think. It may not have the Bat Pod, but I know it has the two of them and the, you know, the Tumbler. Why the fuck would I be paying that much if the figure can't stay together, you know? So, anyway, once again, this is my story and I'm sticking to it. Spend the time and go search out your Keaton Bats because it's a way better figure. If you want, you know, your fix for Bale and you still haven't gotten your fix of Bale yet, then you could always go search out the Mattel Dark Knight Rises figures. I mean, they're pretty cheap on eBay right now. You could look for the Injustice Batman. I just did the review on that from SH Figuarts. Roughly the same price, way better product. You just got a lot of options. It's Batman. I mean, he's like stupid popular, more popular than like any other superhero on the fucking planet next to maybe Superman. And even with Superman, you don't have as many choices when it comes to figures. So I would recommend you go that route. Avoid this one, at least until the 2.0 comes out, and then we'll see if the 2.0 is, you know, worth it. If anybody is interested in this figure, even despite what I told you, hit me up, and, you know, we'll come up with something. But, yeah. This is kind of a, I don't know, kind of a pass on my point. Not kind of, he's a definite pass. I'm not being passive aggressive about this shit. It's definitely
a straight up pass. Even with the fix will help hold the joints in a little bit better. But I mean, if you pose him twice or 3 times in that sitting, chances are it might still pop out. You know what I mean? It'll pop out less. Don't misunderstand where I'm coming from. It'll pop out less, but it will still pop out. So if you want a figure with, you know, proper build quality, this figure is not it. The best I could say is if you get him, you get those 2 awesome accessories in, you know, 1/12 scale. So that makes it a little bit better. But overall, I don't know. In my opinion, the Mattel figure, it's a little bit better in the sense that it'll last. So I'm strident. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. This has been my review of the MAFEX Dark Knight Rises Batman from Metacom. Peace outside.